I hate being short. Just kidding. It's average. Come on, man.
You hate being 5'11".
I'm not 5'11".
Crouch. Bind. Set.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Adam.
This is episode now 8 of the PODcastaways. So we're now well into it. Today we're going to talk about the D4 game that happened on Saturday, the Rugby World Cup, as well as finally share some details about the Guinness experience of Columbus on November 11th.
There's been a Rugby World Cup?
There's been a Rugby World Cup. None of the teams left that I support are in it anymore, but I guess there's the bronze match, but we can get to that in a moment anyways.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't think I've ever watched the bronze place match. If you'd have asked me before the World Cup, is it even televised? I'd have gone, I don't think so. I don't understand why it exists.
I've actually read articles about that, but we'll get to that.
I know it exists because people want it needs world rankings and stuff, because both those teams have lost their game and they need a world ranking level.
They do.
And it's for the 2027 World Cup groups. But I think we got into this at the beginning. The whole way the groups were structured this year is terrible.
I agree.
Because it left open door for England to try and get all the way to the final. And South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, France, and New Zealand all had the worst first half of the World Cup ever. Yeah. Anyway, let's go. Go back.
We'll jump back to that in a second. So the D4 this weekend, right now, so our D3 team is no longer in contention for the playoffs, so our D4 team has continued on. We hosted another Columbus team, Columbus, Indiana, of course, from a different state. They traveled out here, and it was a big drive for them, 3 or 4 hours, something like that, and they brought 17 guys, and we took it to them. The final score was something like 52-17, so it was a big score line and a great day for the team.
Yeah, a big chunk of that match, I think, didn't score in the first half, so it was 30-something, nothing.
38-0 at
halftime, which was incredible. And then that third quarter was a little bit, we let them come back into it, a little bit of fitness and things, and that comes into play, and then late in the season and stuff, and a couple of guys playing out of position, stuff like that. But then kind of picked it back up, secured the win. Dino kicks from the tee really well. Dougie scored, I think, 418 tries or something
like that. Yep. Master Blaster had his first try, which was great. It's on footage with a beautiful swan dive over it, which was the only successful swan dive of the game because Bert also tried one.
We can give Bert some shit.
Dropped it
because although he proved he can do a cartwheel, he apparently can't dive and touch the ball down. But Master Blaster's try does lead us into propaganda for this week. So here that is.
Paul, also known as Master Blaster, scored his Zulu this weekend. Well done, Paul. Good on you, mate.
Jay, come left! Come left! Come left! Come left! Oh, nice get horny. He's like left?
Can't think of a better way to celebrate a first try than a nice ice-cold shower beer. Let's go, Castaways.
But it was a really good game, I thought, and I think that what was very surprising and very, I guess not surprising, but was great to see was that the bench really made a huge impact when you had guys like Maddie and who else came on, but there's other people that came on, and it made an immediate impact when they came on with that energy level they bring, like Efren and some others. Dr. Tom had an absolutely incredible game. He was making tackles left, right, and center, had a lot of great carries. He had a couple line-out steals, threw the line-outs really well too. So he had a really, really great game as well. So that was also incredible to see.
Yeah, Seamus was great at scrum half, stuck with it. I think he pulled his groin or something in about the 65th minute and
just toughed it out.
Yeah, toughed it out. It was good. Thickums was good for fly half. I've never seen him play fly half before, but it was pretty good there. New Nick
had a very good
cracking game. So yeah, I think we got some very good prospects, let's say, and then people just had a great game. And I think, I don't know, it was, again, I said this before about a D4 game, but like being on the sideline with a big bunch of other people who either couldn't play or injured and stuff, we had just a great day of watching rugby. Pretty crappy weather, but Another great day of rugby at Rhodes Park.
So Findlay beat Ypsilanti, third Ypsilanti, which is a city in Michigan or town in Michigan. Beat them. So now Findlay is hosting next weekend, which is a rematch. They're the only team that we lost to during the D4 season.
Mm-hmm.
There's a second too, because we lost to Pittsburgh as well. But we replay Findlay at Findlay again, which we were winning that game, and then as I understand it, though I was not able to go, they kind of crept back into it and ended up winning by the end. So that fitness level and that full game, that full 80-minute effort needs to be there, and I think we have that, and I think that we can do this.
Yeah, I think the last couple of weeks that it's been a bit of a struggle to get the guys ready for D4 because we just haven't had numbers at training.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are listening to this, turn up at Rhodes Park Tuesday 6 p.m, Thursday 6 p.m. Thomas will buy you a beer at Woodlands Tavern on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. That's not true.
But yeah, more numbers. It just means you can run a proper line because last Tuesday we just played touch for an hour.
Yeah,
it was great fun, great fitness. But,
Thursday we did some run throughs, but that was really.
But we just need more numbers, and we can't expect people to change their lives for it. It is a social thing, but let's help. Let's support the D4 guys. Let's get everyone ready for that game because I do think it'll be tough because
it will be.
Finley will be going into that thinking, oh, we beat these guys earlier in the season. This is going to it's going to be a walkover. So let's prove them wrong. But yeah, should be a good game. It's also World Cup Finals Day.
That's very, very true. World Cups, which I guess we can talk about that bronze match as well in a second. But that's on Friday, and then on Saturday is the World Cup final, which is New Zealand versus South Africa, and I've determined that I should start voting for the team that I don't want to win because I guessed almost everything wrong. So from now on, I will be supporting teams that I hate because I want them to lose, and then when they lose, I can be excited about it. And that's what I'll have to do from now on, I suppose.
Okay, but you're doing that, and so there does it undo it?
That's a good question, but I don't have time to unsolve that paradox right now. But New Zealand and South Africa in the finals, and then the bronze match is a rematch of England versus Argentina. And I know you were saying that you weren't a big fan of it. I'm never going to complain about more rugby games to watch. I also think that it's going to be one that's going to be important to tune into for those that watch, I guess, the Six Nations routinely, as this will be the last game for a lot of the English internationals, and I would assume so for a couple of Argentinians as well. I think that people that are being done after this World Cup cycle, I think Courtney Laws came out and said he was done. Joe Marler said he was done. But he's a Centurion. He's played over 100 games.
I know, but he's 33 years old, which I guess is there or thereabouts for people who are trying. But he also looked like the fittest guy on the field in that semi-final. He was the one. The ball bobbled out, and he was the one diving on it. Getting there. He's always people call him offside, and whether he is or isn't, he's always the first person to a breakdown and stuff.
Yeah. Joe Marler, Dan Cole.
He is also from Northampton.
Mm-hmm.
And I have played against him when we were little.
And your dad's pulled him over.
My dad's pulled him over a few times in the car because he doesn't drink though. Like it's not because it's just because he drives a
big car.
I should probably cut all this out, but yeah, he's the nicest person in the world. Like he's very humble about being a fucking superstar.
Yeah.
So,
and then Joe Marchant is going overseas strong word, I guess, across the pond to Stade Francais. So he's no longer eligible for England because of the Premiership rules. And Henry Arundel potentially is moving to France as well. So that's another player that'll be gone.
I don't get that. How Henry Arundel did he play one game?
So I actually was reading about this. Apparently, he and Owen Farrell got into some beef at a training.
That was who he was again. Because I heard about Owen Farrell.
And Owen Farrell basically was like, I think that obviously he's the captain of the team. So if you get on his wrong side, it's not really you can't really play. So which is kind of rough. That's probably not a great atmosphere, but
I think he's a dick. But okay.
Who? Farrell?
Farrell. Yeah.
No, not a chance.
Okay. Sorry, Henry.
He was my bet. I think he was the best player on the field on that game.
Yeah, both referees were pretty good on the field that day. Yeah.
I thought Ben O'Keefe was terrible, but that's besides the point. The referees mean the entire South African team.
No, I meant Owen Farrell and Ben O'Keefe.
Oh, yeah. So not. He's pretty bad, but that entire South African team, all they do is cuss out the referee the entire time. I was watching. Apparently, there was some type of incident where one of the South African players potentially had said a racial slur against one of the English players.
Oh, really?
They didn't confirm anything. It wasn't caught on camera, on microphone, or they're trying to find footage, but it's being investigated. And you can hear the entire video. Other than I'm not going to get into the soundbite, but you can hear them cussing out the ref too live and yelling at the referee the whole time, which is just not. But I'm sure every team does that. That's not me saying that South Africa is the only team that does it. I'm sure every team does that. Just in this instance, it was South Africa screaming at the referee, so that was more of a joke. But I noticed that in the clip.
Well, that's one of the reasons I don't like Owen Farrell very much, is because of his attitude towards stuff, his own players. Same reason I don't like Dan Biggar, because he's a I don't want to say bully, but he is just this arrogant persona on the field. And I get it. Maybe it's because he's elite sportsman, wants the best, thinks everyone should be performing at that high level, and then when things go wrong, that's the outlet for it. But it just annoys me. I just don't like it.
I guess I don't get that same vibe from Owen Farrell, the way that I see Dan Biggar on screen, screaming at his own players, cussing them out on live TV. I don't see Owen, and I'm sure maybe Owen Farrell does that in their camps and stuff like that. But of course, he did. He does get frustrated with the referee. He did cause him to get marched back at one point during the England South Africa game.
That's stupid. He didn't drop the ball. He got told to drop the ball, and he didn't.
So but then you watch the after game interviews, and he's just nothing but positive, and he comes across to me as very humble when he's on those things. It comes across that way to me. And if you watch other media too, there's other players that try to mess with him, and he just laughs it off and kind of has fun with them. So I don't know. To me, he seems like I don't want to be even in front of the camera at all. I just want to go home. That's my kind of vibe that I get from him. But I also like the player, so I know that we have different views on that.
But I think there's I wouldn't ever say, if someone says to him who's the best all-time point scorer for England,
I would still think Johnny Wilkinson, even though I know he's not.
He's not the greatest player. But there's no disputing that Owen Farrell is an amazing rugby player, and this World Cup he's been great. He has, and
he's not actually put in that. He's going to retire, by the way.
I didn't. Honestly, I didn't expect that either.
I think he's going to play through the next World Cup. I think they'll transition him out, but I think he'll be in the squad as a mentor. Training.
But not in England's build-up, but for Saracens last year, Owen Farrell was out and out, other than maybe Theo Dan in the final. So Owen Farrell was just the greatest player they had, and I wouldn't dispute that he's an amazing rugby player. There are definitely other players in the world who, I wouldn't dispute are incredible athletes, rugby players, got an incredible rugby mind and all that kind of stuff. But you can still think they're a dick.
So that's how I think of Sexton.
Well, and that's fine. That's fine.
He's a great rugby player.
I'm never going to say that your best friend in the world is not probably the best scrum half in the world at the minute. I don't like him.
Yeah. Fair enough.
There's the personality and things as well. It's it's the same with all sportsmen. I guess it's the same in NFL, in hockey and stuff. And there's a personality, there's a persona, an athlete's persona, and then the ability to be good at the sport, irrespective of that. And some people, you just don't, depending on the team they play for, and if you get beaten by that team, it's part of sport. Is part of the love of loving a team. There's also part of the hatred of loving the opposition. And that's why I like rugby, because at the end of the game, you might have had a fight with someone and but you shake their hand, you go have a beer, and everything's great. And even with Thomas and I will be going in a couple of weeks, 5 weeks to New York to play with another team, play sevens. And there's a couple of guys on that team who we have played against this season, and we have played, and on the field, got into arguments, disagreements with, it's a tough game and stuff, but they're still your teammate on the other field. And it's the same with the Sale and Leicester Tigers, Northampton and Saracens players. They're all against each other, and it's all big rivalries. And then when they're playing for England, they're best friends.
Exactly. Argentina obviously
Here we go.
lost to New Zealand in what was, I think it was the second greatest margin of a loss in a semifinal in World Cup history. I think the only other time was like, I think it was New Zealand versus I can't recall against whom, and it was like 49-3 in a semifinal, something like that. And then this one was 44-6
It was pretty.
or something like that, or 44-9. It was just Argentina never quite looked like they got into the game. Like they just showed up and just weren't sure.
I mean, we literally filmed last week's podcast and then moved separated on the sofa and watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And Argentina didn't compete.
No.
And I had rated Argentina throughout the World Cup because they've scored some cracking tries. They've got some great physicality. They've also got some very fast players. But the ball went to Richie Mwanga and Jordi Barra, and like gave it to Will Jordan. No, Mr. He's going to score a try, and it was a bit of it was like watching a tier 1 top 3 team play a tier 2 nation.
Yeah,
and Argentina for the last 12 years or so haven't felt like they're a tier 2 nation. I mean, they haven't performed.
They beat the All Blacks recently a couple times. That's like that. So.
They've beaten everybody. They beat Ireland to knock Ireland out of the last World Cup. They knocked a decent couple of teams out the previous World Cup. They've got to the semi-finals 3 times in a row. Or quarterfinals twice, then semi-finals this time. No, they were in the quarterfinals last time.
They've been third place in the World Cup before as well. So I don't know. So here's the big question then. Who do you have winning the World Cup final?
Well, like I said from the very beginning, I don't see anyone beating New Zealand. I think, and I've said this pretty much about every game, New Zealand and whoever their opponent is play very different styles of rugby. And it becomes a clash. South Africa tend to bring teams down to their level.
Like England did against them.
Yeah. But I mean, did England score a try? 1 try.
No, England didn't score a try.
They didn't score a try?
South Africa did. Owen for had all 15 points.
All 15 points. So that's the same in the Ireland game. Ireland, South Africa. South Africa bring you down to their level. Can they bring, knowing what we know about that final warm-up game, can it happen again? I don't know. I think it'll be a great final. Going back on what I said last week, where the semi-finals always seem to be the best games and the finals always seem to be not great. I think this will be a very good final. I don't think there'll be that many points scored.
I think that New Zealand will also win. I agree with that statement. I think that there's going to be a lot of beef, as it's the greatest rivalry in the game. At least that's what it's billed as anyways. There's also the fact that South Africa absolutely ripped New Zealand apart prior to the World Cup in the most recent game where they demolished them, and there's going to be a bad taste in their mouth for them to come out fighting for that win. This will be the 4th world. Each team will have their 4th World Cup win under the belt if they win it. Sam Whitelock will be the first person in World Cup history. I'm sorry, for men's World Cup history.
I was going to say,
to have 3 World Cups. I know there's maybe a few women's players, and I don't know their names, and I apologize for that.
I think it's about 8 or 9, and most of them are from the England team, like Maggie Alfonsi and that group, who have been in 4. I haven't won 4. Sam Whitelock hasn't won all of them.
No, he's won all the World Cups. He didn't. No, he lost one.
He lost.
Right.
Yeah,
he lost that one. Right. There was something. He had won 17 consecutive World Cup games or something insane like that, or like 16 before the last World Cup. But anyways, that's going to be a big thing.
I was just looking at the rankings because I wanted to see if it changed over the weekend, just with New Zealand's big win. South Africa number 1 ranked in the world, 92.79. New Zealand back up 91.56. And Ireland remain in 3rd with 90.57. So it's going to be close. I think,
I think the real difference maker in this game.
Oh no!
I think the last 20 minutes.
Finland have dropped 7 places in the world rankings to 78.
The US is not even. I'm sure they could probably beat the US, but anyways, I think that New Zealand will pull ahead And I think it's going to be that last like 20 to 30 minutes when the South Africa subs start to come on. That's going to be the big thing. Like Kwagga Smith coming on is a huge impact.
It's huge. Yeah.
I think that whoever New Zealand picks as their front row replacements is going to be very, very well thought out. That was basically, to me, what won South Africa that game was
The bench, yes.
the bench and the scrum. For whatever reason, no matter what South Africa did, and no matter how well England scrummaged, even if they pushed South Africa back, always a penalty to South Africa. And that could be a technical thing. That could be just the way the refs saw it that particular game.
They were a big margin bigger, like physically bigger.
I noticed that Dan Cole and Joe Marler held it together and actually won a penalty. And the second that they both got subbed off and that Genge and Sinclair came on,
I rate Genge as a scrummager. I also rate him as a really good broken play runner. I've always thought Carl Sinclair is a little bit weak in the scrum.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great in the line out, like holding someone over his head and stuff. I just don't rate him as much, but I don't think anyone replaces Dan Cole and Joe Marler.
Mm-hmm.
He's also got a very good podcast.
What's up?
He's also got a very good podcast.
He does. But those two, I mean, that's also, they've got that old prop strength when they're in there. You know, they've been scrummaging now for probably 30 years of their life at this point, and just, probably playing since they were 3 or 4 years old, I'd imagine. Probably.
Yeah, they probably weren't props at that age.
Probably not props, but they, that old man, not that they're old, but that like strength you get from propping for so long, knowing like but also, they've played, those two probably played against the same front row for South Africa, so they know the ins and outs of what they like to do. And I don't know, when Genge and Marler, or when Genge and Sinclair came on, I mean, it was just not even remotely close anymore. But the player, by the way, which I was alluded to earlier, that had apparently made a racial remark to Tom Curry was Bongi Mbonambi, who is their only listed hooker left. The other replacement is Dion Fury, but he also has been brought on as a back rower. So they have no other like designated like specialty hooker anymore.
He made a racist comment to Tom Curry.
Yeah. Called him a white C word, apparently. But people are saying in Afrikaans he was saying something else that means like white offside or something. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not.
As in white England shirt.
Yeah, as in referring to white. Yeah,
yes,
exactly right.
So
okay. They may, if which I think there's no way they're going to find enough to really do anything. I mean, even though there's that many microphones on, he can claim he was speaking in Afrikaans and claim it wasn't what he was saying or whatever it may be. Who knows? I don't think anything's going to happen anyways. I think that
Warren Gatland, like last week before the game, who's obviously a lot of experience against South Africa, was recommending that like England watch out for like the dirty tactics and things, specifically around calling for HIA assessments on players that didn't need to go off for HIA, just to keep the bench refreshed, or keep the bench coming on, keep players fresh and stuff. I don't know. That's difficult to call because you're like, well, because it's a doctor that calls that. So if a doctor calls it, that's World Rugby. I think World Rugby is a bit messed up in terms of high tackles and head injuries and stuff like that. Anyway, so everyone will talk about that forever.
Mm-hmm. I heard that if New Zealand win, that Ollie's gonna run a Zulu just because.
Oh, I heard that. I heard he was gonna do the like full body paint of like a New Zealand kit.
That's true. I heard
do a whole training session just with body paint. Yeah,
yeah. He was really excited about it.
He's made so many claims about that. Yeah, there was
insane.
Air New Zealand used to do, like when you get on in the videos about like the safety, do your belt up, put your thing on. They once did a whole video, and all of the people in the video were naked, but the body paint was on, and so like the bit when they tell you to put the seatbelt on is really awkward. But I'll see if I can find it on YouTube. It's probably not safe, but I'll put it on here. Okay. But like, it's weird when you get on a plane and you sit down and they do that. You're like, this is a bit close. Anyway, but yeah, Ollie did make he told everyone he'd buy everyone New Zealand shirts. He told everyone he would
Steinlager for everyone.
Yeah, he was very up for just making all these promises. So we'll hold him to all of them. Yeah.
Exactly right. Then, looking past this weekend, we finally firmed up the dates for the Guinness Experience, or the Guinness Gallop, whatever you wanted to call it. I don't like the alliteration. I think that sounds awkward, but it's going to be November 11th. We're going to be at 5 p.m. meeting at Woodlands Tavern in Grandview, just to get food in people's stomachs. That way they're not drinking on an empty stomach. Hang out at the sponsor bar for a little while, and then the first bar on that list is Burns Pub, which is just a walkable distance. And then just across the street from Burns is the Ohio Tap Room, which is bar number 2. Then we'll drive up. I think it's more in the Olentangy West area, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it's like north
Upper
of
Arlington area.
Upper Arlington a little
is
bit.
where the old Bag of Nails will be, which is a neat little spot. And then the fourth bar is the Dublin Village Tavern. Then after that, we'll go to McKellen's, or McClellan's, if I pronounce it correctly. And then is it Fado or Fado? Fado Pub and Kitchen, also in the Dublin area. There is another Fado as well. I think it's in East End. So this is a different one that's not in East End.
It's more like Dublin, Westerville, like that little...
So
not Westerville, sorry, Worthington.
One consecutive thing. People will be getting scorecards and rating the pints of Guinness. We haven't really made up our minds yet. Did we decide on teams of 2?
We'll see how many people want to come. I think we'll definitely need groups. We will need some designated drivers, or we'll just get everyone to do it together, and we'll just get bigger Ubers or whatever. But yeah, so we'll explain the rules when we get there, and there's some different people. There'll be some fun along the way. There'll be some interesting penalties for certain things.
Trying to split the G.
There will definitely be a dress code. You will need to wear clothes that are... What did you put it on the flyer?
Sunday's best, which basically means formal clothing.
Yeah, formal. Top hat, tails, cane,
this is a
monocle.
pinky up afternoon.
We will be gentlemen about it. If you don't like Guinness,
and if you think Guinness tastes like the devil's armpit, like me,
you don't need to refrain from coming.
Just hang out.
Come. The only rule, you don't have to drink all the Guinness. It's just that we will be judging the Guinness in the bars, and so there will be, between your team or your pair or whatever, there will be a pint of Guinness purchased. You don't have to drink it. It will just be a case. It's just a bit of fun. It'll be a laugh.
We'll be vlogging it, I'm sure, the whole way through.
It will. The vlog or the podcast segment will get just remarkably worse as the days as the evening goes on. So like we might start off with like really high expectations, and then we'll probably just forget to do the rest.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
But we'll try our best. It will be fun. We've been talking about it. There's a few of us been talking about it for a while, trying to make this happen. So it should be good.
That about wraps it up. So remember, we have a couple practices to go here as our D4 team continues their playoff run, which again they're playing in Findlay this Saturday. If they win that game, then I'm not quite sure where they would go next from there. Probably the number 2.
How many rounds is that? Is this the?
This will be this is just the second round. I'm not sure but they keep playing consecutive weeks.
But how many rounds are there?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But they'll keep playing, and I think the Midwest's finals is usually in like
in Chicago, or just outside.
I think Chicago area, yeah, something like that. So keep on with D4, keep showing up to practices, and we'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.
We need to think of a better outro.
We do.